Thanks for joining us for This Week in Odyssey, where subscribers to Odyssey, the print MIS for marketing ideas for printers, can discover what's new in Odyssey and learn about the best practices to use Odyssey to its fullest. Let's get started.
Well, welcome to Marketing Ideas for Printers This Week in Odyssey webinar. This is episode number 21. I honestly can't believe this is already the 21st episode. That's quite a bit of Odyssey knowledge that has been packed into these 21 episodes for sure. We will be presenting these webinars every other Wednesday morning. Please note the webinar occurs at 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 p.m. Eastern. This bi-weekly webinar focuses on release notes, any noteworthy bug fixes. We get a few tips and tricks thrown in there, here and there, anything and everything that you would like to know about Odyssey. On today's episode, I will be going over accounting reports. There is a lot to go over and perhaps some reports you didn't know existed, so please stay tuned. We have a guest speaker today, so stay tuned at the end of the webinar for some important updates from our very own Dave Holton. Couple things that I know that I have gone over before, but I'd like to go over one more time here. We have the help menu in the upper right. If you select that, there's 3 possible selections. View Odyssey documentation will take you to the Odyssey user guide where you can search within it. You can print it off or you can save as a PDF. You can also go to the release notes, which are published bi-weekly, so every other Monday. We just had a release coming out this past week. And then if you wanted to open a support ticket within the control center of your website, open a support ticket will take you to that location as well. Another newer, more recent update that we have added to Odyssey and to the website is what we call the nav toolbar or the navigational toolbar. It's found in the upper left here in Odyssey. If I select this button, I get a drop down of Odyssey, the website control center, direct mail, and social marketing. If you want to be taken to your website's control center, you may select this button and you are taken there immediately. If you want to go to the direct mail or social marketing of your info center, if you select these buttons as well, you're taken to the info center respectively. While you're in your website in your info center, there is the navigation toolbar is also present in the upper left to take you back to Odyssey, or if you want to go to the control center of your website. So that's a neat little feature that we packed in Odyssey recently, and we're hoping that as you've seen these webinars, or maybe you've accidentally stumbled across this has proven helpful to link you between the various subscriptions that you have between Odyssey, your control center, if you happen to have direct mail or social media. Okay, back to the reports that I mentioned a little bit ago. There's 2 locations to get to reports, and specifically, I'm gonna go over the accounting reports. Within this accounting icon, as you can see, there's a report tab, and if I click on that, I'm taken to reports within accounting. That's one location to get to reports. The other location, depending on how many icons you have and if you've moved them around, mine's in the lower right, there's a reports. If you click on view reports, you're taken to a list of them on the left, and mingled in these reports are the 7 accounting reports that I'll be going over. Now, I'm going to go over them in the accounting area, but I just wanted to mention that you can access the reports from 2 different locations. So they're also intermingled in here, and most of them are accounts receivable. As you can say, that they have the AR in front of them. So I'm going to go back to the Odyssey dashboard, and within the accounting tab, or the icon, you can either select the icon or you can simply select the reports tab. I'm going to select the icon this time. Odyssey defaults you to under accounts receivable. As you can see here on the left, there is a reports tab, and selecting on that, there are 7 accounting reports that show up. So I'm going to go over each one of these, not too in depth, but to kind of go over a little bit of what you can do on these and output and so forth. Perhaps you haven't gotten this far, you haven't really maybe done as much with the accounting report. So I'm going to go over these today and kind of give you a little bit of overview or preview of these. With this sales transaction report, just what it says, it's a list of sales transactions that have been invoiced by a date range per customer. So on each of these, when you select run, there's going to be a list of options before you create the report. If you would like to select a timeline or a time frame, for me, I'm just going to go back a couple months to March 1st. You can indicate a time frame for the sales report. If you would like to group it by a specific company or customer, if you'd like to group by a sales rep, a press, or a press type, we give you the flexibility to do that. And as well as if you want to show all orders, if you only want to show invoice orders or in orders that have not been invoiced. I'm going to leave it as all orders, and I'm going to group by company customer and create report. And this depends on how many orders have come in since your time frame. So I'm sure it seems pretty quick on my end. Might be a little bit slower on your end, but just give it some time and Odyssey will produce the report. So this is what it looks like on the screen. You can scroll down. It's in alphabetical order of the company because as you remember, that's what I told it to group by the company customer. So we're alphabetizing by company. And it gives you the order number, a little description, the company, sales rep, when it was created, the estimated, and the selling. You can click on the company or the sales rep and it'll take you to that company in Odyssey or that sales rep. If you would like to export this report either as a PDF or as a CSV to bring into Excel, we have given you the options to select either one of those. I'm going to quick click export to CSV. It takes a little bit. I'm going to open this with Microsoft. And this is just an example of the sales report being opened on my end in my Excel here. And here we go. And so depending on how fluent you are in Excel, you can make these bigger, you can turn on filters, make it a little bit easier. Whatever it is you need to do, you can bring this report into Excel, and that is what it looks like. Real quick, I will show you what that looks like being brought as a PDF or exporting to PDF. And just like I was mentioning, not as interactive, it's more of just a static page where you can scroll down and view, but maybe a little bit cleaner look that you want to print off. You can do that as well as a PDF. So that's a quick overview of the sales report. I'm going to go back into the report section and select the aging analysis report. So this is what each customer would owe you, how much of a balance might be overdue, and those sort of things. So it's an aging 30, 60, 90 days out sort of thing. So we're going to click in here, and you can set a time frame of any date as of, I'm going to go back to March 1st again. If you want to start typing in a company name, you could type in a company name if you didn't want to have every company. So a starting company and an ending company. I'm going to leave that alone. I don't have as many companies in my Odyssey, but you can start a start and an end company. If you'd like to have a summary, and I'll show you what that looks like with and without, you can do that. If you want to show unpaid account balances, or I'm sorry, invoices, you can do that. And 30, 60, 90 days, you can change these. Maybe you want to do a 45-day. You could do that as well, but I'm going to leave that 60-day. I'm going to uncheck the summarized check mark. I'm going to click create report. And this is going to be a little bit more detailed. Company, here's the invoice, the amount. So it kind of goes through, and if I scroll down, here's a grand total that would be given to you. I'm going to click the summarize check mark and restart it. And you'll see a little bit different where it's just a quick summary of totals, how many days past due and so forth, and a grand total. Again, you can export to PDF or export to CSV. I know one of my companies is my Tank 2 Printing. I'm going to type that in, select Restart Report, and now just that company shows up. So we give you a little more flexibility and options as well with this AR aging analysis report. Again, just depending on what you're looking to see here. Going back to reports, the next one is the distribution report. So this is kind of going to show you the distribution within your chart of accounts and a breakdown of sales by that chart of account number. So if we go in here, I remember doing this a little bit ago. I do need to go back to February to get some information to show you, but you can set any time frame that you would like to run this report. If you know the codes offhand within your chart of accounts, say starting code is 1000, what have you. You can put a starting code in there and an ending code. You can choose an accounting period to display. I'm going to show all periods for this example. And I'm not going to click the summarize button, but you may if you want to summarize. I'm going to select create report. So again, this is going to show me each one of my chart of accounts, the code and the description I gave it, the company name, the reference, and how much with each invoice or payment, whatever it might be, has gone into that chart of account. If you go down to the very bottom here, within each chart of account, I'm sorry, it does show you the total that has been deposited, would you say, or a part of that chart of account. Again, you can export to PDF or CSV. Send to accounting. If I select send now, you will be prompted to fill out what type of file you want to be imported into, say, QuickBooks or whatever your accounting software might be. Format to send is standard or multi-ledger, TXT or CSV for the file extension, and you can select what period to send. Prepare file to send. This is now preparing it. Now, I don't have anything or everything has been sent, so that's fine. But if you did have something, there'd be a second prompt for you to double check or say, yes, I would like to send this to accounting. So that's what the send now is, generating that file extension for your importing into whatever accounting software you may have. I'm going to redo this report and just select summarize. And again, I'm going to go back to that February 1st timeline, and I'll just quick show you the difference between what it looks like on summarized and I guess you could say summarized. So very quick and dirty. It's not breaking it down by company within each chart of account. It's just showing you the total within each chart of account that was put in there. All right, back to reports. Transaction by type. So if you're looking to find something, you can view list of invoices. There's quick sales, payments, adjustments, or credits. So it's the type of transaction that was done. And right here, it says select a type to show. Invoices, point of sale, which is a quick order, a payment, an adjustment, or credit. You can clear all and select maybe just the ones you want to show, or you can select all to select all the ones that you want to show. I'm going to leave it at show all periods and create report. Right here, I get a list of the invoices, the accounting date affiliated with that company, and the amount. I'm sure you would probably have more depending on the period you choose and so forth. So my list was pretty short, but it kind of gives you an idea of, here's a list of all the invoices. Here is a list of all the payments. I did have one adjustment and one credit, and then we do have a grand total at the bottom here. Again, if you would like to export this to a PDF or a CSV, we give you that option as well. And this is available to every report that we provide. You can export CSV or a PDF. If I wanted to just do invoices, if I clear all and just select invoices and restart report, I get a list of only invoices. So depending on what you need to show or what you need to export, you can select all, or you can just check the ones that you need to see. So that's the various transactions by type report. The fifth report, as found in accounting, is commission report. And kind of just what it means is how much commission has each of your sales rep earned for a specific date range. So we can go in here and we can show all reps, or if you have specific ones that you would like to run the report on, you can. You can choose a period to display. I'm going to show all. You can view if the paid commission is when fully paid, on a partial payment, or on all invoices, whether they're paid or not. For my example, I'm just going to select on all invoices. You can show paid invoices only or show all invoices. I'm going to leave it defaulted to show all invoices. If you want to sort this by a sales rep or by company or by invoice, you can select one of these buttons as well. I'm going to leave it at sales rep and select create report. And again, you may have more than myself, but just to give you an idea, here's my sales rep, the invoice date for the invoice, that's the company, The commission 20% is paid on that, ends up being this amount. And then I have another sales rep that showed up in my report here, as you can see. 10% commission, and rounded it up to $30.02, so 302. Then it gives you a grand total of the commissions that were paid out on all periods. If you were to specify a specific period, then you would show a grand total for that period. Again, if you want to export to PDF or CSV, you have that option as well. I'm going to quick choose by company, and it should alphabetize by company and restart report since I only have 2. And there we go. Now we've got the Bella Bean is obviously before T, so we put that in alphabetical order by company. If you wanted to do by invoice, you may as well, and restart report. 1274 is now at the top, and on the far left is invoice number, so we're sorting by invoice. And then we have the second one. So depending on how you'd like to sort your commission report and export, you just do the choosing of your choice and restart report. All right, that was the commission report. Inventory report. This is if you want to check current stock levels when you're doing inventory, if you're using that section of Odyssey. I'm going to leave this at all types, and I know I don't have too much, but that's why I'm going to leave it at all types. You may have more, and that's fine. And I'm going to select Create Report. So with plates, I don't have anything in there right now, but I do have with sheets of paper. I have current inventory of 50 with the first one and 100 with the second one. You may have more. You may not be using the inventory section of Odyssey, but if you are, we give you the flexibility to run an inventory report, as well as if you are using Reorder Forms Library on your website, you can also run a report for that. Now, I don't have that on mine, and that's fine, but if you happen to have that Reorder Forms Library, you can run a inventory report for those as well. You can also export as PDF and CSV with this inventory report. And last but not least, we have what is called a paper needed report. This is simply a quick report of paper needed for upcoming print jobs, and then it'll show you if it's time to reorder paper. I don't believe I have this set up really to show, but I am gonna pick a date range that goes back to last year to see if I can get anything to show up. You as a print shop, having used Odyssey perhaps more than I have, or have more paper in there and so forth, you would probably have something show up. But I currently, let me restart this. So going back to February, I'm sorry, September, I might even go back a good full year to see if anything comes up. I'm gonna try adding a company and job description. So you have the ability to show the report, a standard report, or if you also want to show the company and the job description. And like I mentioned, I didn't have anything come up, not a problem. When and if you do run this report, you can also export this as a PDF or CSV. So going back to the reports tab, those are the 7 that we have as part of accounting. If at any time you have more questions, of course, you can call us, you may email us. Within the Odyssey documentation or the Odyssey user guide, we do have a report section that has recently been updated, and it goes through the different reports in each, or within the reporting section and how you can group them and so forth. As well as if you go into the accounting section, there's a little bit more talk about the reports in here. So you might find a little bit more information, perhaps a little bit more detail about the reports within the Odyssey user guide as well. Just a quick mention again, you can access reports, specifically accounting, either through, in the accounting tab or icon here, there's the reports tab, or in the lower right, there is view reports, where you can view all reports, and the accounting ones are intermingled within these other reports here. So I know that's a lot of information, and I know I've said it before, but this is being recorded and will be viewable to our audience. If not today, then early tomorrow morning. I always record those and post those in the same location as all the Odyssey webinars. So as far as my part here, I have nothing else. So Dave, if you are ready, over to you for any updates that you may want to share with our Odyssey subscribers.
Very good. Thank you, Trish. And it is so fun seeing you give the tour of Odyssey. I know you have more opportunities to kind of get into the details and into the trenches than I do these days. And I just so appreciate your teachers' hearts and servants' hearts to walk us through that. So thanks for the good tour again.
Yeah, thank you, and anytime.
Yeah, so what I wanted to hop in on today's presentation or today's webinar, I wanted to come in and I'm going to go kind of big picture, kind of the opposite of where Trish was at. You're into the details. I'm going to go big picture. And it's really a neat time for Odyssey to kind of have some of those big picture thoughts. Odyssey has been around long enough where we are starting to look towards that next big moment, kind of starting to look towards Odyssey 2. And really, really excited about kind of some of the things that are starting to show up around the corner. What that means is we've spent a little bit of time tying up some of the loose ends on Odyssey 1. The reports that Trish that you showed here is evidence of that. That we've put a little more polish on some of those areas. There's so much more we want to do, and you're going to start seeing things like that in Odyssey 2. For our Odyssey subscribers, you started to hear about that earlier this year, towards the beginning of this year, and we've been starting to put the requirements for Odyssey 2 together, and that is continuing to happen. And one of the things that I wanted just to hop in here on this webinar, just a little teaser, and sometimes I get in trouble for this by getting my mind, things that are bubbling in my mind, and getting them out for everyone to hear about before you can see that. And so I've tried to do much better at that and wait for the actual show until to be ready. But today I am going to get one step ahead of myself and tell you a little bit about one of those kind of in-between moments where we had to make a decision. Do we tie it up as a loose end on Odyssey 1, or do we save it for Odyssey 2? And the it that I'm referring to is the marketing aspect of Odyssey. And we made the decision, even though it didn't get quite as complete as we wanted when we started to think about Odyssey 2, we did make the decision that we are going to bring that to life in Odyssey 1. And what we're looking at in today's version of Odyssey. And so with that in mind, I just wanted to put that little teaser to you and tell you that that the marketing improvements and new tools are coming soon. We work in kind of 2-week intervals, call them sprints, 2-week sprints, and we're wrapping up a current 2-week sprint right now by the end of this week. What that means for marketing is that's going to be fully tested by the end of this week, and you should start to see the new marketing tools and some of the improvements show up on the development server in the next few weeks. And Trish will have more to say about that as that starts to show up, of course.
Yep,
now,
sure.
Now to talk a little bit about kind of that in-between time between Odyssey 1 and Odyssey 2, as we've kind of divided up the responsibilities and started to think ahead towards Odyssey 2. That's also given us a little window of time to focus on the websites. And so even though that doesn't come up in this webinar often, you probably are getting the email notifications about some of those. Matter of fact, there have been at least 25 improvements that either have been or are about to be released on the websites. So I won't go into the details on this webinar about that, but it's also good for you to keep your eyes open on the emails and the updates for the website part of your subscription too. Now I'm going to take one hard right turn here, kind of step away from the Odyssey and website discussion. And Trish, I think you've got it queued up. Do you have the blog post on your screen? Yeah, there we go. Guys, this is a big deal. ADA website accessibility and compliance. This is a topic that came up as, you can read the blog post, and I certainly will encourage you to read that blog post. At the moment, it's the top blog post on our blog. So you can go to our website and hit the blog area and look for it. Or you can go to the shortcut, and that shortcut is on.mi4p.com/ADA webinar, and that'll take you right to this blog post. It's a big deal, and what it is, it's really anyone at the website is at risk of legal challenges based on accessibility and compliance issues related to the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that's been a concern to some of our customers. And every so often we get an email, Dave, is my website ADA compliant? And there's not a quick one-size-fits-all answer to that question. And actually what's kind of interesting is I always answer that question yes and no. And the reason I say it that way is because, well, I should probably say yes and maybe would be a more accurate way of saying it. The reason I say it that way is because there's a lot that we can do at the system level to make sure that the website is ADA compliant and ADA accessible. But there's also a lot of tools we give you in your website where you have the ability to affect that as well through the content. One easy example is if you add your own YouTube video to your website, it's your responsibility to add the closed captioning to make sure that it is ADA accessible and ADA compliant. So that's a change that you would be responsible for, not one that we would be responsible for. This is a big deal because there are a lot of, well, I don't know, maybe a lot, but there are definitely some opportunistic lawyers out there that go around just looking for websites, finding any little issue that they can, and then will challenge the owner of that website on the accessibility based on the ADA guidelines. And that's a good thing in some cases because we do want to make sure that the websites are accessible and compliant, but honestly, a lot of the times it's just silly lawsuits meant to get some of your money into their hands. We are hitting that one on Monday, and that webinar on Monday, we're bringing in a lawyer that's an ADA specialist. His name is Chris Ravensburg. There we go, right on the screen there. And I would invite you and encourage you to sign up for this webinar. It is a live-only webinar. It's not going to be recorded, so you do need to show up for it. And there is a price tag on it, $49 for anybody, or $39 for Marketing Ideas for Printers subscribers. And I would encourage you to show up for that webinar because that price tag is really just a fraction of the cost of hiring your own lawyer, or worse yet, fighting a challenge in court. And Chris is going to be bringing some very practical tips to really kind of ward off some of those common things that can lead to challenges. That one's kind of heavy on my heart. I knew it was a big deal to at least one of our subscribers, and in this subscriber's case, he actually had a son that that benefits from the ADA accessibility. His son has hearing loss, and so it's kind of close to his heart too, for the right reasons, to have ADA accessible websites. Closed captioning being one of the examples there. So would definitely encourage you and invite you to join us for this webinar. Again, it is on Monday at 11 o'clock Central Time, same time as this webinar, except on Monday. So 11 o'clock Central Time, and encourage you to go to that blog post with the call to action at the bottom. You can see the orange button. You can read all about why it's important, the ADA accessibility, and the page that's up here, that's where you can sign up. So would invite you to do that. I got a little bit windier than I thought I was going to on that one. So back to the topic of this webinar. We're excited about what's coming around the corner with Odyssey. Our subscribers, you will be hearing about that as some of those plans start to take shape. And Trish, thanks for letting me hop into your webinar today to share my story.
Yep, Dave, thank you for a little bit on Odyssey 2.0 and mentioning our website updates as well as the upcoming ADA compliance webinar. So thank you for the information that you've provided. As far as this Odyssey webinar and information I may have, as I mentioned, I kind of went deep into what I wanted to talk about. This is being recorded, and I will post that probably yet today so that we can get this out there to as many folks as possible before that Monday registration or Monday webinar as well for ADA. So with that, thank you for joining us during this edition of This Week in Odyssey, and we do have a survey that we would appreciate you to stick around. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
For those watching live, stick around for a 2-question survey. On behalf of the whole team at Marketing Ideas for Printers, thanks for joining us.